Namaste, everyone. I welcome you all to the book study of Autobiography of a Yogi. So, before starting the book study, let me introduce myself to you. Hi, I'm Ritika Jaiswal. I am an energy healer, and I'm the owner of Healers of Light, the spiritual wellness store. So, basically, the purpose of starting this book study is like when you are in spiritual path or you have this power within you, the power of intuition. You feel that you're connected with God, angels. So I feel studying spiritual books help you grow in life in certain areas, or spiritually if you want to grow, then book reading is spiritual book reading is very important. So I thought to share my knowledge, my insight, my experience of reading Autobiography of a Yogi with you all. So every day I'll be covering certain chapters, certain pages, which I'll be sharing in the YouTube videos. So you can watch the book study video early morning before going to bed or whenever you are free and relaxed. And you can connect with Paramahansa Yogananda ji and his journey. So let's begin Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, and with a preface by W.Y. Evans, Wentz, M.A., D. Lit, and D.Sc. So let me share you the pages. Yeah. Okay, so I will not be covering the preface and author's acknowledgement. I will start directly with chapter one, and my explanation can be a mixture of language of Hindi as well as English, but we'll be reading the book in English. So let's get started, and I'm all very excited for this first chapter of Autobiography of a Yogi. So, chapter one. My parents and early life. The characteristic feature of Indian culture have long been a search for ultimate varieties and the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. My own path led me to a Christ-like sage whose beautiful life was chiseled for the ages. He was one of the great masters who are India's sole remaining wealth. Emerging in every generation. They have bulk worked their land against the fate of Babylon and Egypt. I find my earliest memories covering the anachronistic feature of previous incarnation. Clear recollection came to me of a distant life, a yogi amidst the Himalayan snow. These glimpses of past by some dimensionless link also afforded me a glimpse of the future. The helpless humiliation of infancy are not banished from my mind. I was resentful, conscious of not being able to walk or express myself freely. Prayerful surges arose within me as I realized my bodily impotence. My strong emotional life took silent from form as words in many languages. Among the inward confusion of tongues, my ear gradually accustomed itself to the circumambient Bengali syllables of my people, the bewailing scope of infant mind, adulty considered limited to toys and toys. So Paramahansa ji is talking about like when he was in his childhood, he always had this in his mind. Just a second. He always had this guru and shishya relationship. Like, how means what is this relationship? How is this relationship? My own path led to Christ like sage, whose beautiful life was chiseled for ages. He was one of the great masters who are India's truest wealth. Emerging in every generation, they have bulwarked their land against the fate of ancient Egypt and Babylonia. So he always kept on admiring these gurus, these saints across everywhere, across the world. And it always surprised him, like what it is, how it is to be in such a saint position. And here he has also said one thing, like he was very helpless at his home. His emotions were very strong. And as you can see over here in this paragraph, I was resentfully conscious of not being able to walk or express myself freely. Prayerfully surges arose within me as I realized my bodily impotence. Like when someone is a child, someone is not so matured or adult, so they have to listen to their parents, they have to listen to their elders. So the same problem was with him. His mind was matured, his soul was matured, but the limitation was his body. Like he had to take orders from the elders. Among the inward confusion of tongues, my ear gradually accustomed itself to circumambient Bengali syllables of my people. Like many a times in local language, your cultural language, there are certain things people say, like, don't do this. If you'll do this, this will happen. So same, whenever he wanted to say something, those things came in his mind. The beguiling scope of infant's mind, adultly considered limited by to toys and toys. So he found himself very limited to the toys that were given him, and being under the guidance of elder. Psychologically ferment and my unresponsive body brought me to many obstinate crying spells. I recall the general family bewilderment or at my distress, happier memories to crowd in on me. My mother's caresses and my first attempt at lisping phrase and toddling step. These early triumphs, usually forgotten quickly and are yet a natural basis of self confidence. My far reaching memories are not unique. Many yogis are known to have retained their self consciousness without interruption by dramatic transition to and from life and death. If man be solely a body, its loss indeed places the final period to identity. But if prophets down the millennium spake with truth, man is essentially of incorporeal nature. The persistent core of human egoity is only temporarily allied with sense perception. So now he is recalling, he's only talking about his childhood life. He said that psychologically ferment and my unresponsive body brought me to many obstinate crying spells. Like when we are in childhood, when we are children. So, what are our milestones? Like when you walk, when the child starts speaking, when the child does achieves anything. So those are the milestones, and that develop confidence in child. And his what he's only recalling his childhood memories. And my far-reaching memories are not unique. Many yogis are known to have retained their self-consciousness without interruption by dramatic transition to and from life and death. So what I can sense, what I am interpreting of this reading still now what we have done, like he had very high expectations about yogis, about gurus, about saints, and he used to compare himself with those people. Like they have done means there was no drama in their life, like what we have. Mother, father, family, someone is telling not to do, someone is telling to do. There he thought that saints have the life, saints have life and death. There is no such drama in between. So in these two lines he has written that my far reaching memories are not unique. Many yogis are known to have retained their self consciousness without interruption by dramatic transition to and from life and death. If man be solely a body, its loss indeed places the final period of identity. But if prophets down the millennium spake with truth, man is essentially of incorporeal nature, persistent, persistent core of human egoity is temporarily allied with sense perception. So over here, again, Paramahansa Yogananda ji has written that man is essentially of incorporeal nature, like not the physical body. Man is not what he is, means he is not the physical body, but the persistent core of human egoity is temporarily allied with sense of perception. So what we are made of is something more than that. Although odd, clear memories of infancy are not extremely rare, during travels in numerous lands, I have listened to early recollection from the lips of veracious men and women. I was born in the last decade of 19th century and passed my first 8 years at Gorakhpur. This was my birthplace in the United Provinces of northeastern India. We were 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. I, Mukunda Lal Ghosh, was the second son and the fourth child. So over here now, Paramahansa Yogananda ji has written that he was born in the last decade of the 19th century, and his first 8 years were spent in Gorakhpur. This was my birthplace in United Provinces of Northeastern India. So there were total of 8 children. So seven, you can say brothers and sisters, 4 boys, 4 girls. I, Mukunda Lal Ghosh, was the second son and the fourth child. So he, out of 4 boys, he was the second son. That means there was an elder brother of whom we'll be talking about in this book, and very interesting facts about that. And he was the fourth child. Okay, now let's proceed. Mother and father were Bengalis of the Kshatriya caste. Both were blessed with saintly nature. Their mutual love, tranquil and dignified, never expressed itself frivolously. A perfect parental harmony was the calm center for the revolving tumult of 8 young lives. So you can imagine there were 8 children in the house, and the house was harmonious. It was full in harmony because of their mother-father relationship. It was so full of love, mutual love. Father Bhagavati Charan Ghosh was kind, grave, at times stern, loving him dearly. We children yet observed a certain reverential distance, an outstanding mathematician and logician. He was guided principally by his intellect. My mother was a queen of hearts and taught us only through love. After her death, father displayed more of his inner tenderness. I noticed then that his gaze often metamorphosed into my mother's. So, what over here, Yogi ji is telling that his father, Bhagavati Charan Ghosh, was very kind and yet at times very strict. And he was a great mathematician and logician. And his mother was, as we can see with these lines, that she was a very loving lady. Whatever she made the children do, it was only out of love. And after the mother's death, the father became more tender, more soft towards the children. In my mother's presence, we tasted our earliest bittersweet acquaintance with scriptures. Tales from Mahabharata and Ramayana were resourcefully summoned to meet the experiences of just a second. Mahabharata and Ramayana, suitable tales to meet exigencies of discipline. On these occasions, chastisement and instruction went hand in hand. A daily gesture of respect of father was given by mother. Mothers dressing us carefully in afternoons to welcome him home from office. His position was similar to that of vice president in the Bengal Nagpur Railway, one of India's largest companies. His work involved traveling, and a family lived in several cities during my childhood. So he's telling, like, as a gesture of respect to the father, what the mother did, she used to dress up the children before his father coming back from work. And this was a gesture, like we also do whenever we go, if someone invites us, why we dress up, or if someone is coming to our home, why we dress up. We dress up as a gesture of respect. Uh, so over here, and his position was similar to that of vice president in the Bengal Nagpur Railway. So his father was in railways, and most of the time the family would be traveling during his childhood. Mother held an open hand towards the needy. Father was also kindly disposed, but his respect for law and order extended to the budget. One fortnight, mother spent in feeding the poor more than father's monthly income. All I ask, please, is to keep your charities within a reasonable limit. Even a gentle rebuke from her husband were grievous to mother. She ordered a hackney carriage, not hinting to the children at any disagreement. Goodbye, I'm going away to my mother's home. Ancient ultimatum. So, what happened, as we studied earlier, also, we have seen in these lines, like mother was very loving, and she did a lot of charity. So, one day she feeded the poor, and it was more than the father's income. She spent more than the her husband's income. So they had an argument. He said that you need to do charity, seeing the budget. You cannot just go and spend the money in charity. So the children were not knowing what had happened between the mother and the father. So what she did, she ordered a hackney carriage. It is a carriage during those time. People use these carriages as a mode of transport. And she said, "Goodbye. I'm going away to my mother's home." Like in India, or I think in any culture, it was an ancient ultimatum. Like, I'm going back to my home, my mother's home. We broke into astounded lamentation. Our maternal uncle arrived opportunely. He whispered to father some sage counsel. Garned no doubt from the ages, after father had made few consolatory remarks, mother happily dismissed the cab. Thus ended the trouble I ever noticed between my parents, but I recall a characteristic discussion. Please give me 10 rupees for a hapless woman. I think it'll be helpless. Oh, sorry, it is hapless only. Please give me 10 rupees for a hapless woman who has just arrived at the house. Mother's smile had his own persuasion. Why 10 rupees? One is enough. Father added a justification. When my father and grandparent died suddenly, I had my first taste of poverty. My only breakfast before walking miles to my school was a small banana. Later at the university, I was in such need that I applied to a wealthy judge for aid of 1 rupee per month. He declined, remarking that even a rupee is important. How bitterly you can recall the denial of that rupee. Mother's heart had an instant logic. Do you want this woman also to remember painfully your refusal of 10 rupees, which she needs urgently? So here's a story that Paramahansa ji is telling that once a lady came, she wanted 10 rupees. And then the father said, why 10 rupee? 1 rupee is enough. Then father added to justification, when my father and grandparent died suddenly, I had my first taste of poverty. So he is justifying like why he's very cautious about money. He said like when his father and grandparents died, so he was very in needful state. So and he wanted a rupee. He went to a judge, and but the judge did not give him that rupee. So then the mother adds, he say, do you want the woman also remember painfully the refusal of 10 rupees, which she needs urgently? So then again, his father says, you win. As we all know, no one can win in front of a lady, a woman. With immemorial gesture of vanquished husband, he opened his wallet. Here is 10 rupee note. Give it to her with my goodwill. Father tended to first say no to any new proposal. His attitude towards the strange woman who so readily enlisted mother's sympathy was an example of his customary caution, aversion to instant acceptance, typical to the French mind in the West, is really only honoring the principle of due reflection. I always found father reasonable and evenly balanced in his judgment. If I could bolster up my numerous requests with one or two arguments, he invariably put the coveted he would invariably put with my reach the coveted goal, whether a vacation trip or a new motorcycle. Father was strict disciplinary to his children in their early years. Let me turn the page. Hmm. So father was a strict disciplinary to his children in the early years, but his attitude towards himself was truly Spartan. He never visited the theater, for instance, but sought his recreation in various spiritual practices and in reading Bhagavad Gita. Shunning all luxuries, he would cling to one old pair of shoes until they were useless. His sons bought automobiles after they came in popular use, but father was always content with the trolley car for his daily ride to the office. The accumulation of money for the sake of power was alien to his nature. Once, after organizing the Calcutta Urban Bank, he refused to benefit himself by holding any of his shares. He had simply wished to perform a civic duty in his spare time. So, he's talking about his father. You can see the picture is there. Bhagavati Charan Ghosh. He was a disciple of Lahiri Mahasaya. So, he was strict during the early years of children. He used to practice and used to read Bhagavad Gita when the son grew up. So they all had this automobiles during those time, but he was very content with his trolley, and he did not believed in accumulation of money for power. Like these days, people want more and more money. So what do you think more money does? Definitely, it fulfill your needs, but after certain point, it is done for power. Like people accumulate money to come in powerful position. So it was alien to his nature. Once, after organizing the Calcutta Urban Bank, he refused to benefit himself by holding any of its share. He had simply wished to perform civic duty in his spare time. Several years after father had retired on a pension, an English accountant arrived to examine the books of Bengal Nagpur Railway Company. The amazed investigator discovered that father had never applied for overdue bonuses. So once after his father retired, after long time, one English accountant came to check the books, and then he was amazed that his father never applied for overdue bonuses. He did the work of three men, the accountant told the company. He had rupees 1,25,000, about $41,250 owing to him as back compensation. The official presented her father with a check of this amount. He thought so little about it that he overlooked any mentions to the family. Much later, he was questioned by my youngest brother, Vishnu, who noticed the large deposit on a bank statement. Why be elated by material profit? Father replied. The one who pursues a goal of even mindedness is neither jubilant with gain nor depressed by loss. He knows that man arrives penniless in this world and departs without a single rupee. So, if let's take an example, if you come to know, like in your account, 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, means a lump sum amount comes, is deposited. So, how will be our reaction? Our reaction will be like, wow, I'm so happy. I'll do this, I'll do that. Means, there's a feeling of joy, happiness. So, but in his case, like when his younger brother saw this amount in his bank statement, so he asked his father, like, you have this big amount, large deposit on bank statement. Then his father replied, the one who pursues goal of even-mindedness is neither jubilant with gain nor depressed by loss. The even-mindedness people means the person who is balanced, has got balance of thinking. They don't get happy with good things and don't get depressed by a loss. They are in that even-mindedness. And he said he knows that man arrives pennilessly. We don't come with a pocket full of money, and we don't die with a pocket full of money. So he's saying that he knows that man arrives penniless in this world and departs without a single rupee. We'll be knowing more about Lahiri Mahasaya as it is mentioned over here. He was the disciple of Lahiri Mahasaya. Early in their married life, my parents became disciples of great master Lahiri Mahasaya of Banaras. This contact strengthened father's naturally aesthetical temperament. My mother made a remarkable admission to my eldest sister Roma. Your father and myself live together as man and wife only once a year for the purpose of having children. First, father met Lahiri Mahasaya through Abhinash Babu, an employee in Gorakhpur office of the Bengal Nagpur Railway. Abhinash instructed my ears with the engrossing tales of many Indian saints. He invariably concluded with a tribute to the superior glories of his own Guru. Did you ever hear of the extraordinary circumstances under which your father became disciple of Larry Mahasaya? So over here, as I was telling, he said his father became a disciple of Larry Mahasaya of Banaras, and Abhinash Babu, an employee in Gorakhpur office, introduced him to Larry Mahasaya. And the mother said to the eldest sister Roma that they live like a man and a woman once a year to for the purpose of having children. They lived a very saintly life. Do you ever hear the extraordinary circumstances under which your father became a disciple of Nehri Mahasaya? It was on a lazy summer afternoon as Abhinash and I sat together in compound of my home that he put this intriguing question. I shook my head with a smile of anticipation. Years ago, before you were born, I asked my superior officer, your father, to give me a week leave from my Gorakhpur duties in order to visit my guru in Banaras. Your father ridiculed my plan. Are you going to become a religious fanatic? He inquired. Concentrate on your office work if you want to forge ahead. Sadly, walking home along woodland path that day, I met your father in a palanquin. He dismissed his servants and conveyance and fell into step beside me, seeking to console me. He pointed out advantages of striving for worldly success. But I heard him listlessly. My heart was repeating, Lahiri Masya, I cannot live without seeing you. So, before he was born, Paramahansa ji was born. So this officer Abhinash is telling what happened previously to Paramahansa Yogananda ji. He was telling that he wanted to visit his guru and he asked for leave. But his father said, Bhagavati Charan Ghosh, he said him that you means why you want to take leave, you want to become a religious fanatic. And he gave them many reasons to focus on work and not to go there. But Abhinash Babu was continuously in his heart. It was Lahiri Mahasaya, I cannot live without seeing you. Our path took us to the edge of tranquil field where the rays of late afternoon sun were still crowning the tall ripple of wild grass. We paused in admiration. There in the field, only a few yards from us, the form of my great guru suddenly appeared. So they were walking this afternoon, and in the grass, the sun rays were going, and suddenly a formation of Lahiri Mahasaya appeared. Bhagwati, you are too hard on your employees. His voice was resonant in our astounded ears. He vanished as mysteriously as he had come. Only my niece, I was exclaiming, Lahari Mahasya, Lahari Mahasya. Your father was motionless with stupefaction for few months. Abhinash, not only do I give you leave, but I give myself leave to start for Banaras tomorrow. I must know this great Lahari Mahasya who is able to materialize himself at will in order to intercede for you. I will take my wife and ask this master to initiate us in the spiritual path. Will you guide to him? Will you guide us to him? Of course, joy filled me at the miraculous answer to my prayer and the quick, favorable turn of events. So you can see he just denied that you need not go to visit your guru. But things happened and they heard the voice like, why are you hard on your employees? So it was so astonishing for both of them that his father also said like, not only you will go, I'll also come with you with my wife, and we will ask him to initiate us in this spiritual path. So whenever you want, or when you start feeling that you have to walk the spiritual path, or it is completely an inner call. Spiritual path doesn't mean that you have to leave the worldly life. This is the most biggest misconception about spirituality, is that leaving all the worldly things and just meditating. So but spirituality is more than that, doing all your duties and still being connected to your inner self, to God. That is the true meaning of spirituality. So and to walk this path, it is very important, like you have a guide. So these days you can have mentors or people who are experienced, those who have walked this path. They act as guides to us, and blessed are those who have got spiritual gurus in their life. They act as a, you can say, channel, a medium who will guide you in your spiritual journey, who can tell you, who can help you balance your emotion, mind, who can help you heal. So over here, that is what uh, his father meant to say. I will take my wife and ask this master to initiate this spiritual path. Will you guide us to him? Of course, joy filled me at the miraculous answer to my prayer and quick favorable turn of events. The next few evening, your parents and I entrained for Banaras. We took horse cart the following day and then had to walk through narrow lanes to my guru's scheduled home, entering his little, just let me turn the page. The next evening, your parents and I entrained for Banaras, reaching there on following days. We took a horse cart for some distance and then had to walk through the narrow lanes to my guru's scheduled home. Entering his little parlor, we bowed before the master and locked in his hab- habitual lotus posture. He blinked his piercing eyes and leveled them on your father. Okay, only a little, 2, 3 pages left. Bhagwati, you are too hard on your employees. His words were the same as those he had used 2 days before in Gorakhpur field. He added, I am glad that you have allowed Abhinash to visit me and that you and your wife have accompanied him. To their joy, he initiated your parents in the spiritual practice of Kriya Yoga. Your father and I, as brother disciples, have been close friends since memorable days or day of the vision. Lahiri Masya took a definite interest in your own birth. Your life shall surely be linked with his own. The Master's blessings never fail. So yes, over here Abhinash is telling this is a story he's telling to Paramahansa Yogananda ji that after that incident, his father and Abhinash had been really good friends. And before the birth of Paramahansa Yogananda ji, Lahiri Masya took a definite interest in his birth. Lahiri Masya left his world shortly after I entered it. His picture in an ornate frame always graced our family altar in the various cities to which father was transferred by office. Many morning and evening found the mother and me meditating before an improvised shrine, offering flowers dipped in fragrant sandalwood paste. With frankincense and myrrh as well as our united devotion, we honored the divinity which had found full expression in Lahiri Masya. So wherever his father was transferred, the picture would go along. And over here, he's telling that he remembered there's picture of him, and incense sticks were flowers were offered, fragrant sandalwood paste, and we found full expression in Larry Masya. His picture had surpassing influence over my life. As I grew, the thought of the Master grew with me. In meditation, I would often see his photographic image emerge from its small frame and, taking a living form, sit before me. When I attempted to touch his feet of his luminous body, it would change again and become the picture. As childhood slipped into boyhood, I found Lahiri Masya transformed in my mind from a little image and cribbed in a frame to living, enlightening presence. So let me explain it. So over here, um, as Paramahansa ji grew up, he always had this picture of him, and over his life, he whenever he saw he had this impression of him, he used to see him like a photographic image emerge from its small frame and taking a living form sit before me, he has mentioned. And when I attempted to touch his feet of his luminous body, it would change and again become the picture. As childhood slipped to boyhood, I found Lahiri Mahasya transformed, transformed in my mind from a little image, cribbed in a frame to living, enlightening presence. So now he could feel his presence around him. I frequently prayed to him in moments of trial or confusion, finding within me his solacing direction. At first, I grieved because he was no longer physically living. As I began to discover his secret omnipresence, I lamented no more. So now again, one nature we can see, like Paramahansa Yogananda ji always, he had this always high thinking, high visions, and seeing the first in the first pages we have seen that he always wondered about how it is to have a guru disciple relationship, and he thought there's no such family drama in a saint's life, what he is to facing, a little bit complaining. And also over here now he's telling that he used to grieve that he cannot see his physical presence of Lahiri Mahasya. And but later on, he discovered his secret omnipresence, like he's everywhere. Once, like in this, I would like to mention when you grow spiritually, you start believing like wherever you pray, wherever you invoke for higher beings, for God, it shows you, it shows up for you. Then he said, I lamented no more. He had often written to those of his disciples who were over anxious to see him. Why come to view my bones and flesh when I am ever with range of your kuthastha? Kuthastha, the spiritual sight. I think kuthastha is also called the Christ consciousness, but I'll check with that. So, what Larry Masya has written for disciples who are like very anxious to see him or who grieve, like, Master, I cannot see you. So, for them, he has written, like, why you want to see my bones and flesh? Just a second. Yeah. So,